Hey y'all, it is Chris with Rockin Farm, and today y'all, we are going to have some real talk. I'm not sure how many of the people that are watching this video today have gone back and watched like my very early original videos from when I first started the channel, a little less than 2 years ago. But in that very first video that I ever did, I said, you know what? I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to be able to teach you, but at the very minimum, I think I'll be able to teach you what not to do. Well, today we're gonna have one of those what not to do talks. Recently, we've had some very beautiful weather settle into Central Texas. A few days ago, it was raining and our high didn't even get into the 70s. And it was ridiculously cool. The ground is very saturated. It's absolutely wonderful. Well, 3 weeks ago, that was not the case at all. 3 weeks ago, we had this high pressure system come in that brought a ton of humidity with it, but it also brought a ton of heat. So this is the type of heat that it doesn't always happen here. It's not an every summer type of thing. And let me see, it was about 104 degrees, but with the humidity, the heat index was right around 114, 115 degrees. We're talking like that kind of hot where you could take like a roast and some carrots and some potatoes and shove them down in your crotch pot. And after about 4 hours, you're pulling a fully cooked meal out of your pants, y'all. I mean, we're talking the kind of heat where you can cook things in your pants. So here's where the failure comes in. Here's where the teach you what not to do comes in. That whole time that I was griping, that whole time that I was like, oh, honey, it is so hot. It's miserable. It's absolutely horrible. I don't think we're going to survive this heat wave. Not one time did I ever think to myself, hey, you should go check on your livestock. You know, I can sit here and try and make excuses for myself. And to some degree, I guess some of the excuses are even true. We're not used to that kind of heat. It doesn't happen here often. We're new to chickens and don't fully understand everything. And when I say new to chickens, we've had chickens for about 1.5 years, and that was the first time in our life we ever had chickens. You know, we picked up some chicks at Tractor Supply in March of, I guess it was 2019. And that was our introduction to chickens. And we've grown our flock quite a bit. And we've learned a lot about chickens, and we adore our chickens. And we've made some really cool improvements for our chickens, and we've come up with really good brooding systems for our chickens, but we are new to chickens. And last summer 2019, we just didn't get that level of heat. So my wife and I came out at about 6 o'clock in the evening, and it was still just miserable out. And we came out to collect eggs. And that's when we found that we'd lost several chickens, and the rest of our flock was not looking well at all. Everybody was panting. Everybody was in the shade, and there is a lot of shade in this run. Everybody was in the shade. Everybody was panting, and nobody was really moving. We love our animals, and I've always tried and so hard to take really good care of our animals, and I just didn't know. I mean, they have a waterer that fills up automatically, and they had tons of shade, and there's good airflow through this particular run. I didn't know. But I do know now, and we're going to talk about this so that you can learn from my mistakes. At the very minimum, I'm going to teach you what not to do. So, when we came out, we automatically found that there were 8 chickens that had passed away. And they were all laying pretty much right around the water. There was 2 more chickens that were in extreme distress. So we grabbed them up, got them in the house, and we had a dog kennel set up in the house. We were trying to get them water and just let them cool off. One of those chickens actually survived. The other one didn't. And, you know, when I talk about like taking things personally, that chicken that was inside the house, it actually died in my arms. And it was heartbreaking because yes, this is livestock, it's not pets, but they give us food, and I try to take as good of care of them as they take care of us. So it was heartbreaking to lose a chicken in my arms after, you know, picking up 8 dead chickens in the run there. But I took the lid off of their automatic water, and the water inside the automatic water was just hot. And there wasn't much of a breeze. And we just weren't sure what to do because we had never really researched it before because it hadn't been a problem before. So my wife jumps online and she starts automatically researching about what we need to do to keep these chickens alive and get them cooled off. And it turned out great because the next 3 days after that day were pretty close to equally as hot. I think the heat index the next day was 112. The day after that was 112 again. The day after that was 110 degrees. So we had 4 days of stifling heat. But through some very quick research, we found out some things that really work well for us, and now they will be in our chicken playbook forever. So let me tell you some of the things that we did. I told you that we found 8 chickens dead over there by the automatic water. That automatic water right there. We actually found 5 over there. We found 3 of them dead in the coop. So this window has always been on this coop. I've got a panel that I cover it up with during the winter. But during the summer months, this has always been open because I was told, you know, keep your coop well ventilated. So one of the things that we added to better ventilate the coop is this, and it's a temporary thing. What I'm actually going to do over the course of the next several months is I'm going to build a screen door inside of this door so that if we know that we're having a really hot day, we can open up both doors here and have a screen door. You know, and when I say screen, it'll be hardware cloth or something like that. But basically this same concept where I can open up these doors and have extra ventilation through the door itself. Yes, you're being noisy. The other thing we did here inside the coop itself is we put this fan in. This is the fan that I had set up in my indoor chicken brooder, but we moved it out here. So for the next 4 days, there was a fan running, and this window was open, and then the door was open even at night. So that really helped to drop the temperature here in the coop. And that was helpful for the chickens that were coming in to lay eggs. We also took, and right there in the middle of the coop, basically, we put one of those standalone waters where you just fill it up and flip it upside down. So basically, when a chicken got done laying eggs, it could go get a drink of water before it went back outside, and that seemed to really help. So one of the other things that we did is the chicken water there. We would just come out in the morning and we would feel the temperature of the water. And if the water was warm, we'd dump it out and let it fill back up with cool water. And then we would dump about a half a bag of ice in it. And about halfway through the day, we would come out and just check the water and check the water temperature. And if it was warm, we'd dump it out, let it fill back up with cool water and put more ice in it. So that worked out well because we're currently working from home. And then the last 2 things that we did were kind of almost stuff. We would come out here with the garden hose and we would just spray down the dirt and really saturate it, like as saturated as it is now, even to the point that there was puddles. And you would actually see the chickens, they'd go walk through the puddles and cool off using their feet to regulate their body temperature, you know? So they'd go walk through the puddles and cool off and then go back into the shade, or some of the puddles were even in the shade. And then the last thing we did was frozen treats. Cucumbers, watermelon, cantaloupe, throw them in the freezer, freeze them overnight, and then we'd give them to them during different periods of the day, every day for those 4 days when it was so hot and so miserable. So by doing those few things that I just mentioned, we would come out here and we would notice that the chickens were actually very happy. By giving them the frozen treats, keeping their water cool, and making sure that the ground was a place where they could put their feet and cool off. Even though we were just as stifling, we weren't seeing all the chickens laying in the shade panting. We were seeing chickens moving around and keeping cool. So now we know how to keep chickens cool. There's some things that we need to look into because, you know, obviously our world isn't going to look like this forever, at least probably not. So one of the things that my wife did or said that kind of made me feel a little bit better is she said, don't be quite so hard on yourself. What if we had actually been at work? We wouldn't have been here. We wouldn't have known. We couldn't have done anything about it. And I said, okay, that makes me feel a little bit better, but not a whole lot better, because this was very preventable. I mean, if I had just come out and checked on the livestock earlier in the day when I was complaining about how hot it was, we would have noticed earlier, and we probably could have saved those chickens' lives. And obviously, you're going to lose chickens to predators. You're going to lose chickens to, you know, illnesses. But I hate losing chickens to stupidity, and that's what I feel like I did. I feel like I lost chickens due to stupidity. Things that we're going to do for next year to prepare for it, because we might not be here. I'm not going to have a black hose sitting on top of the ground going to the automatic chicken water, where the black hose gets hotter than you know where, and therefore when they drink the water, it's just filling up with hot water. I'm actually going to run a PVC pipe underneath the ground and take it over to where it'll fill. So the water will still be in the shade, but the water supply will be buried, and therefore the water supply will be the cool water that comes directly from, you know, the water supply itself. So that will help. I'm also going to make several more of those waters, but they won't be the automatic version. They'll be the fill them up yourself with the hose version. So if we know we're going to have a hot day, I can put out 3, 4, 5 waters and fill them all up with cool hose water, put some ice in it, and then go to work. I'm also going to set up in the middle of the run here, the chicken run, I'm going to set up a sprinkler that's on a timer. You know, they sell these little timers where things will pop on and off as you need them to. So that way, several times during the day while we're at work, the sprinkler will come on for 5 or 10 minutes, saturate the soil and make some little mud puddles that the chickens can walk around in. The coop itself, put in more windows around the coop, and therefore if we know it's going to be hot, I can get out here early in the morning, remove all the windows, flip on the fan, open up the doors so that the screen door is there but the other doors are open, ice down all the water, set the timer on the sprinkler, and then go off to work and feel fairly confident that when I come home, I'm going to have happy, healthy chickens that aren't dying of heat stroke. That was my big flub. This is me being honest, and again, at the very minimum, teaching you what not to do. So y'all, if you live in a place where it gets hot, make sure you're paying attention to your livestock. If you live in a place where it's hot and you're new to poultry, understand that while they are very hardy and they can take some hot temperatures, they can take some temperatures that you wouldn't want to be outside working in, they also have their limits. And when it is so hot that you can't stop griping about how hot it is, they might need a little extra help. So hopefully y'all have learned from my lesson. I know I certainly have learned from my lesson. I've learned another little aspect to animal husbandry and how to be a much better chicken daddy. And I guess that's all I've got for y'all now. So until I see everybody again, take care of your livestock, watch the heat, and be happy and live healthy.